All right. Well, this is an exciting week here in Montrose. Welcome Home Montrose is having the Mission No Barriers 2015. This has been going on since Tuesday. It's going to last till Sunday. And it's a week-long event where 20 or so disabled veterans come in from out of town, and we get to show our hospitality here in Montrose. And we did this, I think, a couple years ago was the first one. This is the second one, and it's a tremendous success so far. It's, what day is it today? It's the end of day Wednesday. So it's the end of day 2. Today, the participants went out to do some treasure hunting, and they got some massage therapy. And there's things like they can do Tai Chi. But the highlight this year is the opening of our open access water park. No, it's not open access. I don't remember what the term is. Zero entry water park. And the grand opening for that's going to happen on Saturday. So a lot of the people are in town for this, and there's a lot of volunteer efforts going on. And I went to to a fundraiser this evening. There's a business in town that's going to start renting kayaks for our water park, and they hosted a fundraiser for Welcome Home Montrose. That happened this evening. I went over there, and I met Steve and Lonnie. We'll come back to talk about them in just a minute. But last night, after day 1, Melanie came home and she says, "Hey, I got a product idea." And so I've heard a lot of product ideas running a makerspace for the last 6 months. So I listened to her idea, and she said, we have these visually impaired veterans that are coming to use our water park, and we want them to be able to use it potentially without guidance, without a guide. And so she mentioned efforts for adaptive research that was going on at University of Utah and as well as other areas. And so because this is a full access water park, we want these veterans to be able to use it. So that's what that's my little introduction. Like I said, I met Steve and Lonnie. These are two of the veterans that came to town and are participating in this. And Lonnie has been kayaking for quite some time. Both these gentlemen are visually impaired, and so I talked to them this evening at the fundraiser, and got some ideas from them. That I'll just go through some stuff that I found. Let's talk about the 6 different approaches, and I'll show you what I found for equipment that I kind of dug up out of all my stuff. So option 1 is a single tone source add a feature. So you'll have your river feature. This is your river, and here comes our kayaker. Excuse my drawings. And here's the feature itself. Okay, now the classic way of doing feature identification, this is like circa 1960s technology, is to put an audible source at the feature. This is much like the crossing guard, a crosswalk beep tones. So if we could locate a feature there, the boater can come through and use the audible feedback and be able to triangulate on the feature and work their way over to that feature. So this is a single point source sound, and what I have here for that is this is a little beeper that I got, runs on 5 volts. And I got these 2 running over to my power supply. So you can beep this thing. Then I'm thinking, okay, what do I need to do to power this thing up? So I got out a bunch of stuff. I have a lot of options to power this thing. The first thing is, we need a way to turn this on and off. We'd like to turn it on and off only during the day. So and it potentially is going to might get strung on a cable across the river on some posts so that it stands up above the river. So this is so somehow you're going to have to string it up there and hang it out there. This really isn't a problem. You can probably do these with fence posts and do this with a piece of wire, but you're going to need something out there, and you don't want to go change the batteries on that thing. So I found a few things. This is a solar panel that I had left over from the F-16 restoration project at the museum in Albuquerque. We can actually use this thing to charge some batteries and have this thing dangle out over the water feature. So that's one option. But, that's option one. It's not too attractive because it's very big. I don't know how you'd balance it. You got to somehow attach it to the cable. That's kind of a pain. So then I found this thing. This is this is something that I bought, these solar powered LED lights for landscaping. Excuse me. And these guys have a little panel up here, and they charge these. These are probably nickel or NiCad batteries, and it turns this light on. So I took one of these apart, and I took the battery holder out, and there's actually some circuitry on here that's actually pretty. It's got a voltage detector, so it detects the voltage coming off the panel. If it gets below a certain point, it turns this LED on. Okay. So what I need to do to beep this thing is I need a switch in here. I can use a transistor for that, but I need a way to turn it on and off. So, I've been a microprocessor guy, designer for quite some time, and I'm thinking, all right, let me go pull out some microprocessors. So I got my CPU box here, and I'm looking through here, and I found out, I got some. These are some AT Megas. That's the microprocessor used in Arduinos. There's a 1284. That's a big part. Here's a TI MSP430. This is a low power microprocessor. And I'm thinking, all right, well, I'm going to have to design a board, and I'm going to have to mount this on there and put a drive circuitry in here and sense this voltage. And I was like, this is going to get kind of complicated. I got to get this thing done this evening. So I was like, well, I don't need any of that crap. I can go back and I can use a 555 timer, the ambiguous time 555 that every hobbyist knows about. So I went in and I looked at my database. I got a lot of my parts inventoried. I looked through there, and here's a little example of a search. I typed this in, no 555s, and then I remembered, oh yeah, I don't have this inventory is really just for my surface mount parts. So I got out my IC box. This is my IC box here. These are my through-hole parts from that I've been collecting forever. And there's several hundred parts on here. Like down in this thing here, this little bin here. These are all LM358s. Those are op amps. This is a I2C LED controller that I use for my book. These parts here are 74 HCO4s. That's a 7400 logic converter. What else is in here? There's a Max 232. So I'm looking around, and here's some parts from Wireless Scientific. These are microchip parts I used for that. And I'm like, well, I gotta have some of these 555s. Everyone's got them somewhere. And so I looked at found them right here. These are NE 555s. I got two of them. These are monostable vibrators. And what that is I can create an oscillator, a square wave oscillator that has different pulse widths for the high and the low square wave part. And I can just drive that right into a transistor and run that on my thing here. And then I can take the output from this circuit here that used to turn on the light and drive the enable line on the 555. So, and then from that standpoint, we can take this thing. This is a small form factor. It's going to run on batteries. Actually, this one here. And we can somehow attach the cabling to it so that when it hangs, it this is up so it gets charged during the day. And we can go ahead and test it, because that's what we want to try to do. So the real question about this is it going to be loud enough? These features are typically where, some action's occurring in the river. Is this actually loud enough? I don't know. I can go out I can go out tomorrow to the river and take some, we can take measurements and all that stuff. We can just go out with a battery and ask the guys while they're in the river, is that loud enough? All right, so that's option number 1. So option number 2 is using some more different technology for this beaconing business. We still have the feature. Okay, this is some kind of feature. We still have our posts. Okay, now this thing, option 1, that thing beeped all day long. Option 2 is we use a beacon that's we put a receiver on the feature. So what do we do here? We put a feature right here. Here's the feature, and then over here, sorry, I can't read my writing. In the middle of the feature, we put a it's like an iBeacon receiver. Okay. And then on our boater, see if I can draw these boats. Our boater has an iBeacon. They carry an iBeacon on the boat. Okay. So as they're coming down, this iBeacon is broadcasting out, and this receiver is on the river, and when the boat gets near, this beacon goes off. We still use the same kind of thing going on here. Okay. Now, this iBeacon thing is going to look like this. This is a sensor tag from TI. I'm using this for a different project. This is a low power 32-bit ARM microprocessor, and it'll do this iBeaconing. So we can have this potentially mounted in here, and then when the boater gets near, this thing is broadcasting, and this thing will only beep when they're near. All right. So we have the same kind of thing going on where we have a tone control out here in the middle of the feature. So that's option number 2 for that. But the transmitter is here. We're still using the boater's ears as the feedback device receiver on the boater themselves. Okay, now we're going to flip this around. Option 3 is, here's our boater, here's the feature. Option 3 is we put the iBeacon transmitter out here, and we have the receiver on the boat. Okay, so this is the receiver is on the boat. Now, when we have the receiver on the boat, we can also use this thing. Because this thing is just a receiver. All right, now we have different options for this. So this thing is coming down the river. This thing can drive speakers. Okay, it can could drive some headphones or whatever, and then we can use some. Here's the boater's head, and they're using their ears. This thing could do the beeping on the boat. Okay, and this thing could actually be mounted in the boat. The other thing that might, when I was talking to Steve, he said, and Lonnie said the same thing. He said the audible tones or people talking to them giving instructions is sometimes it's distracting. because their guides don't really understand how much feedback they need to give to the person they're guiding, and it kind of distracts from the experience because there's all this shouting going on, and so Steve said that one of the things that is available is if you got your abdomen here. He said a lot of times another mechanism of feedback is to put vibration motors on a lap belt, and then you do some triangulation. Like here's the belt itself, and so you can potentially put some vibrating motors on this lap belt and give some feedback using the motors, based on the iBeacon itself. So if this is the fixed transmitter and this is the receiver, this thing is going to know, in this situation, you could actually put two beacons out here like this, and then you can program up the receiver to actually triangulate on the position based on the signal strength of these receivers. And this triangulation's actually, it's very accurate. It's down to, I think I read on some application notes for this processor, this resolution's down under a foot. And so from that, you could go in and this thing could control these vibration motors. And an example of vibration motors like in a cell phone. Okay. So I dug out this old cell phone. So this is, this thing's vibrating. You can't really hear it, but I'll play it over here. Okay. These vibration motor in here is a little tiny motor, and it's got like an offset cam. So you got this motor, and then it's got this kind of offset thing that spins around. That's what vibrates. And those, you can buy vibration motors for cell phones, and they're fairly inexpensive, about $1. And you can make this belt. Now, Steve also said another option is to make a necklace. So here's our guy, and you make a necklace. And he said the neck is particularly sensitive to vibration. So from there, you can actually make a neoprene neck band that fits around and gives some vibration cues for positioning. So that's option number 3. Using multiple iBeacons and a mobile receiver for triangulation, and then you can do speakers on the boat as well as a vibration source. That's option 3. Okay, so option 4 is to use one of these. This is my cell phone. This is a Galaxy Note. And use the GPS receiver in the phone here. So here's our river. Here's our feature. Okay, here's our boater. Now, I did some studies on this particular phone for a project, and I was able to resolve down with standard GPS without additional transmitters in the field down to about 3 feet. Okay, so the phone will resolve to that. So let's say the river goes this way. All right, you can use the phone to figure out your location within 3 feet. Now, there's several different options on the phone. So I put on here a tone generator on the phone. And so here's that's 100 hertz square wave. And so what you can do is you could run the river, and you can create a path in the river that generates a thing called a KML file. Okay, KML file is it's like a breadcrumb trail of GPS coordinates. And from this KML file, you can do interpolation between the GPS points and create, these are like waypoints along the way. And you could figure out if you are, how far away you are from the path, and give various audible cues just strictly with a cell phone. This particular phone, even if you had it in your inside your neoprene jacket, here's our guy here, our boater, and here's his phone, and he's got it zipped in his coat somehow to keep it being waterproof. And if you do square waves, this is actually fairly loud. Okay, and you can change this for different frequencies if you wanted to do different indications. Okay. And since it's a phone app, you could actually have the user set what their preferences are for when they vary off the path. Okay, so they might be like this guy here. This boater's a little. Let's say that this is north, so he's a little bit to the north. So you could do some type of tone indication that he's off the path and he needs to go to the left or go to the right. And then you could also, this is where there would be a little bit of research and testing involved in the interaction with the boater to figure out what they would prefer to have happen. And there's probably some different use cases, like you're not near the feature, but you're on the path. You're not on the path. There's probably about 8 different things that need to be indicated to the boater that's on the water. And that's just use a standard cell phone. And the app is very simple. All it needs to do is read in a KML file and then be able to play tones. And that's a very simple app. You don't need to do map overlays, or you can if you want to, but that's just going to take up data and bandwidth. You can load all this in and start without actually having a signal. It is going to require that someone on a boat, and this will probably be easy to get an experienced kayaker to actually create the KML file for the features, and you could have different routes as well. This is a very attractive option. You can use old cell phones for this, ones you don't care about if they get wet. Okay, so this is GPS, phone app, audible feedback. Okay, that's number 4. Okay, number 5 is, let's take this the next step. Here's our river. Here's our feature. Here's our KML file. Here's our boater. They have a phone. This is the GPS. Where did I write this down? This is a GPS, and you can use Bluetooth headphones. Okay, if we can spell headphones. There we go. These Bluetooth headphones. This is a wireless solution. It fits on the rider, and now they don't actually have to be on their ears because they want to hear stuff as well. This is part of the issue. Now, these particular headphones here, if I were to play them off that app, let me get my phone back here. If I were to play these off the app, now these are corded phones, so you don't really want this cord to be a pain in the ass. Okay, and if I do a square wave and turn this thing up. Okay, now when I put this on my neck, I can definitely hear this on my neck. Okay, so this is a way, then if you're concerned about your phone, the reason why you want to look at doing this option, if you're concerned about your phone getting wet, You can put your phone in a waterproof box inside the boat. Waterproof box. Okay. You put your phone in the box, and then you actually have waterproof headphones. You don't really care about the quality of these things, and go ahead and assume they're going to get lost. So we just need something that fits around someone's neck, okay, and that it can be kind of attached there. So this is GPS with headphones. So that's option number 5. Now let's go back over to option number 6 here. You following me all this way? Okay, here's option number 6. This is GPS. But we do vibration via Bluetooth. Okay, so this thing is, here's our river, here's our feature, here's our KML file, here's our boater. They have a phone inside the waterproof box, but they're wearing the neoprene collar that has one of these vibration motors in it. Okay, and this is how they get their feedback. So it doesn't use auditory feedback mechanism. It doesn't require them to have good hearing. They can wear this thing on their neck, which is very sensitive. So we put one of these vibration motors in the collar, but now we need a Bluetooth receiver on the collar as well. And that thing looks like this. These things are, this is a little board. This is typically the thing that's in all these Bluetooth speakers that you have, so you can not listen to your phone speakers. But it's it's like the manufacturer on it, not a boom box, but I can't remember what it is. But it's a speaker that has a Bluetooth receiver in it. So you get in the boat, you put your you put your phone in here, you associate with your collar. This app runs and traces the KML file. It plays audible tones over to this thing. But the audible tones themselves just drive the vibration motor in this thing. Well, not that one. Just the vibration motor in this. This here is this is a very simple solution for this. So let's come back and we'll have a summary. What we want to try to do. Okay, so we had a lot of options here, 1 through 6. Let's just talk about what they are. Again, we have the single point source at the location that's using 1960s technology. That thing has to be solar powered so that you don't have to change the batteries on it. It's located at the feature. We have the tone beacon where the receiver is on the feature and the eye beacon is on the boat. And then number 3, we put the eye beacon on the feature, but we have a boat mounted indicator, which is either a speaker or the vibration mechanism. That's also an attractive option, but it requires you to place the eye beacon, but it has an enhanced accuracy over GPS. Number 4 is a phone app only. That one just uses audible feedback. Number 5 is the Bluetooth headphones. That enables you to put the phone inside a waterproof box inside the boat. That's a low cost option that's available, relatively inexpensive, but it does expose the headphones to water. And then number 6 is the Bluetooth vibration device that is powered from audible tones coming out of the phone. And options 1 through 1, 2, and 3 require fixed base location, and options 4, 5, and 6 use GPS. And there's various accuracy options, and all these kind of things will have to be tried out. These are the 6 options that I came up with driving home from tonight's fundraiser. So now, my challenge is I got to get some of these running before these guys leave. So let's see what happens. Thanks for listening.